Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Global Macro Flow with Fisayo. So today we'll be looking at Brexit, analyzing economic, political events with historical, biblical filter. Yeah, so we all know the concept of filters. Well, I came late to the Instagram generation, but yeah, when you take a picture, let's say on Instagram, you could apply different filters, and that same picture would look different based on the filters you apply. Take that approach as well to political and economic global events. You could view them from different filters. And I want to tell you that you could also view these events from a biblical filter. And it will guide how you respond to issues and how you also analyze and take in events, the context in which you take in global economic and political events. You could actually view it from not just a historical perspective, but also from a biblical perspective, and it will change exactly how you view things. How do you view things from a biblical perspective, like global economic news, political events? How do you do that? Simply just by becoming full of God's word. The more and more you become full of God's words, honestly, it changes even your political views. Like I remember, like even when I was in quote a Christian, I think I was a Christian then, but some of the views I had, you can't believe it. I look back again and they've all changed. Like even now, your politics, everything changes. Honestly, as you as you receive more and more of the scriptures in your heart. Look at what the psalmist said in Psalm 119 verse 11. The word have I hid in my heart, that I may not sin against thee. I don't know, I was meditating on that scripture a particular time. I was like, wow. So he hid the word in his heart so that he will not sin against God. So if he didn't have the word, he will be committing sin I didn't know. So the more and more you have the word in your heart, then even something I think, oh, this is just normal. All of a sudden you say, okay, this is sin. So many people just run around. They think everything is all cool and the rest, but they are committing sin they don't know because their word content is low. So what David was saying there in Psalm 119 verse 11 is that as he began to put more and more of God's word in his heart, meditate on it, then even his view, his approach began to change. The filter of what he's doing, how he views things began to change. And that's what we're talking about. So I want to build that consciousness of looking at global economic and political, even events in other arenas in with a biblical filter. I'll do a full video on it later, but I wanted to focus on Brexit. Brexit was or is a major political event in the United Kingdom where the people voted by a majority of, I think, 51.4% voted to leave the European Union June 23rd, 2016. A date has been set for the country to leave the EU, March 29, 2019. But there's a lot of controversy about the event, like should we still go forward? Should we leave the EU without a deal? Because people are not happy about the current deal, like the UK Prime Minister has put forward. People are not happy about it. So some people are like, you know what, let's leave without a deal. And then there's another group uh, who want a second referendum. They are not too happy about the results of the first referendum. They feel some people have changed their mind ever since, and that the people should be given a chance to make a second referendum. That's not what I'm here to argue about today, but I just wanted to look at it from the historical or biblical view. That's my point today. This is my main point. Don't miss this. One thing I've noticed about the history of the UK in relation with the EU is that anytime the EU is about to hit serious trouble, that the EU is the European Union, anytime they're about to hit like serious trouble, the UK always finds himself always either separated or not affected by the crisis. The UK just has a way of avoiding the crisis from the EU, like bailing out from a sinking boat. So, like I said again, I've noticed over the history of the UK and EU, I think over the last 100 years, that anytime the EU is about to hit serious trouble, the UK usually finds itself separated from the EU and ends up not severely affected by the crisis. So, the examples I had here was World War II, Like obviously World War Two, we all know the story of World War Two. Hitler running around riot in Europe until the Americans and British stopped him. But yeah, one thing I noticed is that the UK just didn't capitulate. I mean, you hear some countries that capitulated in like 2 weeks or even less than that. But the UK just found a way to be separate from that. And through the UK, the Americans were able to come in and save the whole of the continent. Another one was joining the EU, like being tied financially to the EU, having the euro as its own currency. So you could see even from 1991, 1992, there was this stuff called the exchange rate mechanism. And then the UK was trying to join the EU, but then it didn't work, and it resulted in like um, a, a massive like currency crisis. It's known in the UK as Black Wednesday, 16 September 1992. A lot of speculators made a lot of money betting against the pound, while the government was trying to prop up the pound, increase the price of the pound artificially. George Soros made about $1 billion in one day, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it looked like a very terrible day for the UK. But what ended up happening? The UK didn't join the EU currency, and they left a lot of measures that would have tied the UK really down with the EU. So what happened over the last 4 5 years, with the crisis in Greece and everything like that, the UK just found a way to be exempted. They did not really suffer the crisis that much. That's one thing I've noticed about the UK. Anytime like something bad is coming for the EU, the UK just is already out of there or just finds itself separated. So spiritually, I turn on my spiritual filter and say, what's the reason behind this? The only thing that comes to my mind is that God is a God that remembers His covenant. You know, in Exodus chapter 2, verse 24, God said He looked upon the crying of the Israelites in Egypt and said, "Wow." Well, he didn't say wow. You know, he remembered his covenant with Abraham, and then he was moved to act. So because of the covenant with Abraham, he came back and rescued his people. So one thing I've known about the UK is that their ancestors have done a lot of deep spiritual things on behalf of the gospel, on behalf of Christ. You look at people like George Whitfield, Smith Wigglesworth, John Wesley. I mean, these guys took territory. We still know their names. So these people have made some covenant with God, and I feel like God is always responsible. You know, he is a covenant keeping God. It's because of what those guys have done. The Wigglesworths, the John Wesleys. Anytime something bad is coming, he just finds a way because he still remembers the UK. No matter how bad things people think the UK is, God still remembers because of what those guys did. So I feel like this is with that lens. I feel like something bad is coming for the EU, and God's just trying to get the UK out of it before disaster comes. So yeah, that's my take on it. What do you think? Am I applying the biblical lens correctly, or I just use one or two facts and then bungle it up? Let me know what you think. Tweet me at DONVUZ or email me at globalmacroflow@gmail.com. Thank you. Bye.